What brings you to Pakistan then?
A little boy, 12 years old, reached out to me on Facebook Messenger. To be honest with you, Pakistan is my favorite. I may be an American on the outside, and my passport might be American, but I have a heart of Pakistani.
You have 11 children.
11 biological children with one man. And
How old were you when you had your first kid?
20. But I worked in international relations at the NASA headquarters in Washington, D.C. Yeah, it'll never stop. Next, we go to Moon, next thing they'll be at Mars. Then Mars, they'll be on Venus. They'll be... U.S. is funny. We sit around and we do our thing and build our companies and live a life and enjoy it. And all of a sudden, and then the competition creeps up on us. And then in Lahore, I like the rich, deep culture. I went to some restaurants up on Food Street, and I don't know if you've been to Food Street.
Yeah, I have.
And just, I like the sights and the sounds of the horns and the people and
The hustle bustle.
I like the donkeys in the street and the oxen. I like all this. Okay, I'm a farm girl, by the way. Okay.
Welcome to How Does It Work? This podcast is powered by Tecno. Assalamu alaikum everyone, and welcome to another episode of How Does It Work, a podcast by Pro Pakistani. We have a very interesting and different podcast today. Our guest is a mother of 11 children. She's from the United States. She went to Harvard. She works at NASA. She's an entrepreneur. She's so many different things that we want to figure out. Allyson Reneau, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Did I butcher the last name or did I say it right?
You have it right. Pleasure to be here.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's start with whenever someone comes to Pakistan and they are from the United States, the first instinct is to ask FBI, CIA, NSA, and that comes from, unfortunately, media and the perception of people. We're unable to believe someone would want to come to Pakistan other than CIA, FBI, NSA. So firstly, for the record, you're not CIA, FBI.
Of course not.
But you wouldn't tell us even if you were.
I've lived in the same neighborhood for 42 years in the U.S., and it's pretty hard to live a lie.
Fair enough. So what brings you to Pakistan then?
To be honest with you, a little boy, 12 years old, from Pakistan, reached out to me on Facebook Messenger.
Okay.
I didn't know who he was.
Okay.
But I was impressed that he had the courage just to ask, will you please do an interview?
Okay.
And so I did this interview with this little boy, and he was so organized. He sent me the questions ahead of time. He was on time. He was professional. And next thing I know, it's his classmates are doing interviews, live, Facebook Live, and then it snowballs into, 15, 20. And apparently I got a text from a very well-known man in Karachi named Rehan Alawala.
Yeah.
And he said, who are you and why are you giving all your precious time to these kids? Do you realize these are some of the poorest kids in Karachi? And I said, I didn't know, but to me, children are just as important as adults.
Right.
And I said, they were very impressive. And he said, great, come to Pakistan. And I'll host you and we'll have a wonderful time. And what I found out is, the media has distorted Pakistan, just like the media has distorted America to Pakistanis. And they've driven a wedge between people that really have a lot of the same values. But when I came here, the thing that I noted, I travel the world. I travel in countries all over the world.
Right.
And to be honest with you, Pakistan is my favorite. Why? Because my personal values are completely aligned with the people I've met here. And I feel more at home sometimes here than even my own home.
What makes you feel at home here?
Number one, I would say the reverence for God that people have here. That's within them. It's for me. That's my number one priority. Second is the strong family values, the warm hospitality, the friendliness, the food.
Yeah, that's one thing we got right, I think.
Absolutely, the impeccable service and hospitality. And so, for some reason, it just felt like I may be an American on the outside, and my passport might be American, but I have a heart of Pakistani.
And when Rehan Bhai called you to Pakistan, did you have a conversation with your kids and your husband? I'm assuming it was a bit like, why are you going? What is there? Or was it just acceptance all around and it was all good?
Well, number one, I'm single now.
Okay.
But my kids know I love to live on the edge. They know I love adventure.
Okay.
And this is all a part of my work.
Okay.
Just, I'm comfortable with the unknown.
Okay.
I didn't used to be, but I found out that's where all the magic is.
That's where the fun is.
On the other, everything you want's on the other side of fear.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I've learned that just step out there and find out. And I really didn't expect the amazing excellence. What I see is I saw when I came here.
Yeah.
It shocked me. I work in real estate. I flip homes, and the craftsmanship of the homes here are unmatched.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unreal.
Prices are also pretty high. I mean, that's a negative.
They're low.
You think they're low? Oh, wow.
I promise you they're low compared to U.S.
Yeah, I mean, but the U.S. also
compared
is
to U.S.
the market, right? So tell me a bit about children, right? So now
Yes.
we were discussing it, and it's fascinating. You have 11 children.
11 biological children with one man.
And did you want to have 11 children? Oh, so how does one have 11 children?
Yes.
A career, all of that in how old are you?
Do you really want to know?
No, but just the average, let's say 40s, 50s, right? I mean,
Well,
in a particular time frame.
My oldest is 40, so you can do a little math from that.
Wow. Okay. So that's a lot packed into one sort of life. Yeah. So did you want to have so many kids?
I was an only child,
Okay.
and I had never babysat in my life.
Okay.
So really, I didn't want any kids.
Okay.
But I thought, well, I'll just have 2 because that's what you're supposed to have. So I planned 2, and I had 9 surprises, literally.
Oh, wow.
And so God had different plans for me.
Wow.
And I was a devoted mother, and still am.
Yeah.
It was my first job.
Okay.
I invested all of my life, my time, my energy in raising my kids. And
How old were you when you had your first kid?
20.
Okay. Okay. And did you, from what I read about you, you dropped out of college?
I was in the middle of going to school, fell in love, or university, got married, and always promised myself I'd go back. And of course, after the first one was born, when the first one turned 5, I'm going back to school.
Yeah.
But then there was another one. But
Was there any point where you were like, oh my God, like this, because there's a financial element to it. There's obviously
it wasn't easy. In the
Yeah.
U.S., you don't have,
help.
help.
Yeah.
And so, but I think, you love your kids. It's a labor of love. You don't think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
True. And that's also very Pakistani of you. You said that you like it, right? We have big families here. That's why 220 million people, right? We like our families nice and big and
Exactly.
full of life, right?
Yes.
So
when you ask me about how did I pack, how did I do the thing? I did. For a woman, you can have it all, but you just can't have it all at the same time.
Yeah.
So for us, we do it in chapters. I think, at least I did.
Yeah.
So first I was a mother for 20 years.
Yeah.
Then I opened a business for 10 years. Then at 50, I went back and got my bachelor's. I was uneducated, went and got my bachelor's and my master's back to back. And then when I was at Harvard for my master's, my focus was in international relations and our U.S. space program. And when I graduated, the doors just kind of swung open into the space industry, which was something I didn't expect. And really, God has given me a new life, a second chance, and I'm grateful every day. And pinching myself that I'm actually sitting halfway around the world when I was just we literally came from nothing. My life was not a fairy tale. And now it really is through education, and I received a scholarship. So, there were people that
believed in you,
reached down and lifted me up. And then the next person lifted me up. So for me, I have to give back.
Yeah.
I have to, everywhere I go, I have to give back because it was what I have is given to me. Yes, I put out the effort, but it's those lucky breaks.
And let's come back to NASA because I have a lot of questions there too.
Course.
But let's go back a little bit. And what was the first business you started? Why did you start it? And how did you do?
Well, I have 9 daughters, 2 sons.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, trying to get 9 ambitious daughters and competitive daughters to get along under the same roof, sharing a bathroom.
Yeah. That's interesting in itself. Yeah, that's a business, right? That's people management, right?
It is.
HR.
When I was almost 40, I think entrepreneurs, it's probably happened to you or even the audience, where you just wake up in the middle of the night and go, that's it. That's what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
And it just sort of drops on you. And then with it comes the confidence, and somehow the resources come to you to do it. And this is what happened to me. And I just had this feeling I was supposed to open a world-class gymnastics program.
Okay.
It just came to me so strong.
Were any of your daughters like gymnasts or anything like that?
I'd never done gymnastics.
Okay.
I'd never coached gymnastics. And I had 10 kids at the time, so I had no money.
Okay.
But
and were you interested in gymnastics, or how did that even come about?
I did have a daughter that was doing gymnastics, but not really. It's just, I think when you have this epiphany, this gut feeling you're supposed to do something, you go. I always go with it.
Yeah.
I don't want to live life with regrets.
Right.
You know, I don't
And
want to
that's
lay
the
my
way to
head on the
live.
pillow at 80 years old and go, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done that. Because actually, there's a book written about that. There was a woman who wrote a book who took care of people who were dying. And for 13 years, she wrote down their dying regrets. And you know what the number one regret was? I thought it would be I didn't spend enough time with friends and family. But it was actually I didn't follow the dreams that were in my heart because of other people's opinions. And so I don't want to be like that, you know. And so I struck out and began to start. And I suddenly got a phone call from a man in Chicago. He said, I've met you one time.
Okay.
I've seen you helping kids. I've seen you help my son through some things. And his mother and I want to send you some money to help other kids. Can you do that?
Okay.
I said, sure. And I thought he'd send me like $500 or something, because at that time I'd personally never seen more than 300 sitting on the table at once. And this man sent me over $300,000.
Oof.
He was vice president of United Airlines. I
Wow.
didn't know that. And so that was the capital I needed. But I couldn't go to a bank
Yeah.
and get a loan. I didn't have any assets.
Yeah, you didn't have a credit history, all of that, right?
No,
Yeah.
so I had the cash to open the business, and it was an amazing quality opening because of the cash. And then I had enough reserves to survive 6 months, and I just hustled. Did it the old-fashioned way.
And is the business still?
Oh, yeah, 23 years. Currently training over 550 female gymnasts as we
Wow.
speak.
Wow.
Right now I have a huge staff of 37 people.
Are your daughters any of them? Those 500?
Several of them. No, they're all aged out.
Oh, okay.
But several of them did gymnastics, and it would have been convenient for me to put everybody in the same mold. But I tried to look at each child. God made everyone individual and unique, and they all have different talents. So some were violinists, and some were swimmers, and some were ice skaters, and a few were gymnasts. So not all were gymnasts. That's not why I did it
Yeah,
for my
that
kids.
makes sense. That makes sense. And then now you've started the business. Why do you want to go back to school? You've got a thriving business. You've got 11 kids to take care of.
I think all times in our life we feel stuck. We feel like,
Why did you feel stuck?
really didn't have much, was uneducated, felt like there was a ceiling over my head, and I felt like it was my own fault in some ways, and I needed to take action. And for me, I just prayed about it, like, what am I supposed to do? And I felt like, as long as I'm educated, I'm going to stay right where I am. So I immediately enrolled in the local university and got my bachelor's quickly in a couple of years, just packed it in.
Right.
And then found myself feeling like I should go to Harvard. Harvard for me was over 2,500 kilometers away from where I lived, one way.
Wow.
I live in the middle of the country. It's in Boston on the East Coast.
Where do you live?
Oklahoma,
Okay.
a little north of Texas.
Yeah.
And, I still had 7 kids at home. I didn't have the money to go. And I really didn't feel like I was smart enough or prestigious enough for sure.
It's the school to
Yeah.
go to, right? Yeah.
But, sometimes when it's God's plan for your life, you just can't shake it. You just can't shake it. It just doesn't leave you. So I decided to go to the campus, take a look at it. I knew it was right, and I knew it was impossible. But the dean of the International Relations School put her finger in my face and said, you will find a way to fly here every week for 3.5 years, and you're going to figure it out because it's going to change your life. And it was her belief in me that caused me to go home and apply for private scholarships.
Wow.
And I got one. And it paid my airfare every week. It paid my books, my tuition. And I would fly in. It's an 8-hour flight one way with layover. Do all my classes on the same day and fly back early the next morning. So I only missed one day of work. I was working full time. And one day of the kids. So.
And how important was that? So, when people are like, oh, certain schools will change your life or the way you think. Is Harvard literally a game changer?
Yes, and it is because, I had this image also of Harvard that it was elitist and uppity and snobby, and that's what I expected. And what I found out, the reason they're so successful, they're just the opposite. They are humble, they invest in you, the professors tell you every day you can do something great with your life. They believe in you really more than you believe in yourself.
And what did you study there?
International relations.
Okay. And then how did you get into NASA? I mean, how are those two things correlated?
Again, as a person came into my life, a Harvard professor, and said, I think you should go into the space industry.
Okay.
And I said, what do I have to offer? And they said, your specialty is this. and this is where you'll contribute. I said, I'm not an engineer. So it doesn't matter. We need everybody in space because it's hard, and we need people from all different fields.
So what did he think was your skill set that you would offer?
She, actually.
She, yeah.
Connecting people, connecting countries, connecting relationships, things like this is, what I'm probably best at.
And now that you work there or have experience there, if there's a student, let's say a Pakistani kid, and he wants to, a Pakistani kid with an American passport, how do you get into NASA? I mean, what are they looking for in someone?
So first of all, I don't work there now.
Yeah.
I worked there for a while. And then had some opportunities from leaders of countries asking to start a space program that NASA didn't have time to invest in because we didn't have the staff to do it. I worked in international relations at the NASA headquarters in Washington, D.C. Phenomenal experience. Still great friends with all of them. Amazing organization to work for. A can-do, get it done, nothing's impossible mindset that really changed my whole life. But I think a lot of times people in countries think that they have these specific limitations. If you're in Japan, they think they're limited to being able to do something with life. You're in Pakistan, or even in America, things are blocked for us too as well. But I really believe if it's something that you love and you want to do, if you prove yourself, people take notice. If you become excellent, I was excellent at washing dishes and folding underwear, and those work ethic that translated into everything I did,
right?
Whether my grades at Harvard or work, and people always want people that are reliable and can get a job done. And so I say there's really no limitations for anybody. The head of several different, in the NASA headquarters, the leadership of many of the branches there, aerospace and the science, and are foreigners. South Korea, Switzerland, they're not all Americans.
Okay. And in terms of the space race, there was a sort of fad or phase many years ago, maybe when I was younger.
Yes.
Space was,
it.
Everybody wanted to go to the moon. And then there was this whole sort of cooling off period.
Yes.
And a lot of us who are not technical don't understand what happened. Like, why is it not the cool thing anymore? Yeah. And then there was all this conspiracy for the layman.
Sure.
Oh, did you even go to the moon? Oh, the flag was moving. Or,
Sure.
Whatever it is. So, in your educated opinion, was the moon landing fake?
So, first of all, let me tell you, I was born in 1961. That'll tell you exactly what my age is. And I watched the Apollo program.
You probably watched it growing up.
The birth of it to all the way to the first man that walked on the moon. I watched it live. And it brought America out of the Stone Age. The amount of technology it took in those days, there's more in our phone now than there is what we had available. Everything was slide rules and calculating on chalkboards and all this to get it done. And have to remember, first of all, I'm very good friends with many Apollo astronauts that walked on the moon. Okay. I know these men personally, and their experiences are incredible. But just to get the first man on the moon took 400,000 workers. Okay? Everything necessary to make it happen. 400,000 workers, and it's not possible, I don't think, for 400,000 people to keep a secret. And I think that it seems like as we go through in history, we always doubt the past. But I was there.
Yeah, you lived it.
I lived it. I saw it, and I've met them, and I talked to them, and still friends with them. And they are some of the finest people I've ever met. And
why can't we colonize the moon? Like, what is that whole, there's this Elon Musk, and we'll get to him, but whole, colonize Mars, and we'll live this world where we live in space, and etc. Why can't we live on the moon? What happened to that, and is that like a thing?
Well, we're absolutely returning to the moon. We've already had our first test flight. Okay. And we'll actually land, NASA will be landing astronauts with international partners on the moon in probably 2026, 2027 again. This time we're not going just to tap in and tap out. We're going to stay. And there's so many resources on the moon. It's unbelievable. There will be a lunar economy. I know that sounds crazy, but
explain to us, to the layman, what does a lunar economy mean?
Well, first of all, we're going to fly to the South Pole because we found billions of tons of water. It's ice, where we'll have the resources necessary to support human life, make rocket fuel, everything that we need. Human beings have always been explorers. We see a mountain, we have to climb it. We see the moon, we have to go.
Then the most successful work.
It's just inside of us, to conquer and to move forward and to
adventure.
yeah, it'll never stop. Next, we go to moon. Next thing, they'll be at Mars. Then Mars, they'll be on Venus. They'll be. It's just who we are. And I think what I see that comes from that is not only the spin-off technology. So you think about everything that a day in your life without space is impossible. Your cell phone's running from space. Your transactions when you're eating, the bank, your navigation. My navigation to get here was running from space. It's Netflix, whatever. It's all space
driven.
It is all space driven. So really, everything we do in space reflects back. It's a positive on Earth, and even creates jobs.
And do you think?
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on this whole privatization of space exploration? SpaceX and
Absolutely.
Elon Musk and all. Is this something that you think is the future, or is this something that might take us 2 steps backwards?
I'll tell you why it's good. And governments, as you know, move slow on things. Private industry, because it's competitive, moves quick. We have to stay in business. We have to hustle. And what NASA has done under the Obama administration when I was working there, shifted to working with private space companies and contracting them to build and do things, and everything's now moved so much faster. Because of that. So it's tremendous. The public-private partnerships are the future, for sure. And yeah.
Who do you think wins that space war to Mars now, right? That's the new, who's going to get there first? Do you see that happening anytime soon?
There was a space race in the 60s because of the Soviet Union.
Yes.
It was kind of instead of us going to war, it was kind of a showdown in space to see whose ideologies were so-called better.
That was the Cold War, exactly.
Yeah, and that's it's that geopolitical tension that drove that space race. Well, we're in it again for the first time. There's
China.
There's China and the U.S.
Yeah.
And it's now, U.S. is funny. We sit around and we do our thing and build our companies and live a life and enjoy it. And all of a sudden, and then the competition creeps up on us. And then we'll finally get with it.
Yeah.
And now we're activated because of competition. Again.
I was going to say, do you think that the best periods of the U.S.'s development comes when there's a strong competitor?
Don't you think that's life in general?
That's what I think.
Everything, whether you have a coffee shop or whether you have a gymnastics program or what you do, a competitor always keeps you on your toes.
Of course.
If we don't have competition, we get lazy. We just aren't our nature.
Yeah.
So yes, it's going to make China better. It's going to make U.S. better. It's going to make really everything better for human beings, this new space race.
And since we're talking about competition, I don't know how well versed on Pakistani affairs you are. We have this competitor across the street
India?
That used to be us, yes. And they recently had a sort of moon landing program, right? And then, of course, there was all this outrage over here because, one, we are a little petty that way, which is facts, right?
Yes.
But the other thing is also, apparently, we had one of the earliest space programs after NASA and Russia.
Yes, you
did. I believe before China, before India. Yeah, in the 60s, right?
You guys were really moving forward quickly.
Yeah, Abdus Salam set it up, and then it was sort of taken away from us. You mentioned that you worked with international space programs outside of the U.S.
Yes.
Have you worked with Sparkle?
No.
Do you know much about Sparkle?
Just enough to know the history.
Okay.
And to know the reason I think it shifted from the accelerated pace it was at. I think it shifted over to a more military space.
Yes. So that's what I was getting at. From what we understand, we look at it one of two ways. Either the military is not telling us and they're doing things, or they're incompetent and they're not doing things. Either one, we're not finding out about it. Do you see that as a pillar of something that Pakistan should focus on, or is it just like, whatever, you've lost that race, move on?
No, what I found in Pakistan is really the talent and the skill and the drive to be great in this country. I'm a coach, okay? I still coach these gymnasts, these great gymnasts, and I know hunger in the eyes of people to be great, what it looks like and how people act, and that's what attracts me here, is it's like this best-kept secret of this incredible talent pool of, I just think it's on the brink of greatness here, to be honest. And I can't really answer your questions, what's necessary for your government when it comes to space and things like that. But I think it's sad that there's a competition between India and Pakistan because what I noticed, we have tension with Russia.
But it's healthy competition there.
Well, No, I think U.S. and Russia like this when it comes to Ukraine, etc. But what's interesting is space supersedes all the geopolitical problems. We have to because people are going to die. Space is hostile. We've got Russians on our space station,
right?
And we're there, and the UAE is there, and Japan is there, and we have to put aside our differences, and it forces us to work together. So I think you never know what will happen when it comes to space with India and Pakistan.
This is completely unrelated, but since you've talked about us having a need to be united with...
Well, the thing is, politically there's tension.
Yes.
But
human beings are all good.
Citizens, with citizen to citizen, it's
citizen to citizen.
It's great.
We love Indians. We watch their television. We watch their movies. We watch their cricket. We love everything about them. It's a political, or people with power generally don't like each other. That's how it goes, right?
Yes.
Kings have problems, not peasants like us. Right?
Exactly.
But you mentioned how the world sort of comes together for space.
Yes.
Of course, this is a hypothetical conversation.
Sure.
So, do you think that there are aliens or life forms outside of space?
Well, that's a great question, and I had the same question. But one of my professors at Harvard was the head of astrophysics.
Okay.
And that guy assisted in building our most powerful telescopes you've heard about, et cetera. I mean, he was the man behind all that. So he's probably dived more into the universe and the physics and the I asked him straight up before I graduated. Do you really think there's aliens? And he said, I really don't think that. He said, at this point, there's no life out there whatsoever.
Why?
And nothing that can generate life because there's certain elements that are required for life. And we do search for planets that are in what we call the Goldilocks zone, which means, that could have air and carbon, the things that are needed to support.
Europa is something that has like salt water or something?
Yeah, Europa is something that it's been mandated by our Congress to build something to go and check it out.
Okay, but is there for life forms to exist outside? There is obviously a certain requirement, right? Like breathable air or whatever, water, etc., etc. So the professor at Harvard believes that this is not.
He just doesn't think so.
Okay.
But like he said, to be honest, we only know what's going on of about 5% of our universe.
Right.
The rest of it is still 95% is still a mystery. We can't see it. There's a tremendous amount of black matter, and we can't see. So he said a lot of it, it could be flipped upside down, and we could be completely wrong. That's what he said.
Okay.
You never can say.
Yeah, that's fair, and
that's just his opinion.
Yeah, that's
not
his
mine.
Sort of,
it's what he thinks, and he's more expert than I am.
Yeah. And bringing it back down to earth. You mentioned
11 kids do bring you down to earth, especially when you have 11 teenagers.
Yeah, that sounds tough. Right? That's literally running Congress. But you mentioned that there were some kids that reached out to you.
Yes.
How did they find you?
I want to ask him that. Actually, the first thing I did when I came to Pakistan was go to his school and meet him. And
how old is he?
I think he's only 12.
How did he find you?
He's just about this big. Rayhan.
Okay.
Rayhan Alawala helped me find him.
No. How did he find you in the first place?
I never asked him how and why.
Did you have a public profile?
No, it's just at Facebook.
He just added you.
I don't have a PR agent. I'm not promoting myself. I'm not trying to be famous or anything. He
then
somehow found me.
Wow.
Somehow it's just a chance, a chance thing that he did.
And now that he's found you and he's brought you here, obviously that's great for us. Do you have plans?
It's great for me.
I mean,
really,
I guess it cuts
I'm going to be
both
honest.
ways.
It's great for me. Yeah.
And do you have plans of coming often here, back to Pakistan? And do you have plans of staying here?
This is my second trip in about 8 weeks. Okay. And I plan to. I've been.
Can you tell us where all you've been so far? Islamabad, obviously, since
Karachi,
we're sitting here. Karachi.
Lahore.
Okay.
And I've spent time 2 weeks in Karachi.
Okay.
5 days in Lahore. 3 days in Islamabad. I'm going back to Lahore. I was in Peshawar. I even went all the way up to the Khyber Pass to the Turkmen border.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Wait.
Yes.
Question.
Yes.
Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad.
Yes.
We all have this rivalry.
You do?
Well, Islamabadis are not really in this
Sounds like
rivalry.
my house, like my daughters.
Which city did you like the most?
It's like my kids. They're all different and great in their own way. And
Yeah, but that's a diplomatic answer.
No, it's not.
Fair enough. You have 11 kids. You can't love them all the same.
I do.
I mean, fair. I mean, you're not going to say it.
I'm mad. That doesn't mean I'm not mad.
Okay,
but if I'm mad at this one, there's always this one to talk to.
Which city did you feel most at home in? Which city would you live in? If that's a fair question.
Well, I can only tell you the strengths of each city.
Yeah. Okay.
Karachi's a hub of like a lot of people. You can meet.
Business.
You can spin around in a circle and meet 15 people. There were people jumping in my car doing live interviews I never knew.
Wow.
I still don't. So it was fun. It was just an abundance of energy there and people. And then in Lahore, I like the rich, deep culture. I went to some restaurants up on Food Street, and I don't know if you've been to Food Street.
Yeah, I have.
And just I like the depth of history there. You know, like I like Dubai, but there's not a lot of depth of history.
Of course.
It's different. How do you? How do you,
feels
how
like
do
it
you
came
like,
up 10 years ago,
How do
yeah.
you like which one better? But so Lahore, this is what I like was this is deep history. I like the sights and the sounds of the horns and the people and the
hustle bustle.
I like the donkeys in the street and the oxen. I like all this. Okay, I'm a farm girl, by the way. Okay, and
Fair
then
enough.
when I came to Islamabad, here's this like golden jewel, this crown jewel.
Yeah.
Right. It's a totally different vibe. It's like Washington D.C. It's just modern and neat.
And dead. Uh-huh.
Dead?
That's what we're always told. We go to sleep at 9
I
o'clock.
haven't been anything
apparently.
dead here. Okay. I'm highly caffeinated all the time, so I never feel dead. And then Peshawar is a whole different, that's a whole different animal too.
And you said that you were telling me about how you're coming back. Do you plan on doing business here, work here?
Well, I've been invited back to speak at Future Fest in
Okay.
January in Lahore.
Yeah.
And, I've actually been house shopping twice.
Okay.
Well, last weekend, and I'm going tomorrow.
Okay.
I won't say what city.
Okay.
But I'm telling you the crap. I'm in real estate.
Right.
I've been in real estate a long time. I own a lot of real estate.
So you
back
want
in
to
the
buy
US.
real estate here because it's a good investment, or do you want to live here, or?
I really, honestly, if I had my way, I'd like to live here. My kids are all grown now.
Okay.
I still have to keep my U.S. house because kids want to come for Christmas and
Yeah, of course.
all this stuff. But and here's what attracts me as a real estate person: the craftsmanship. There's nothing like it in the U.S. It's, I don't know if at least the houses in Lahore I looked at, I was blown away.
Yeah. No, they're really nice, but I don't have anything to compare it to. So.
They cut corners in the U.S. when they build houses.
Yeah.
Okay, like for instance, if it's a wood floor, it's a fake wood floor.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a veneered plastic that looks like, even in the fancy houses.
Yeah.
But here, it's rich, deep, thick wood. You have Spanish, the marble, everything. Everything we do is a little bit fake, and you don't cut corners.
Yeah.
And even the decorations, different sort of sinks and designs and everything. We don't have that. I wish I could. If I built houses like that in the U.S., people would be like, "Wow!"
So the reason you want to buy the house is,
And it's a fourth the price.
you think that it's affordable because.
Oh, it's crazy.
Most of Pakistan can't afford to buy a house, but I can understand where you're coming from compared to the U.S. market, right?
The good news for me is that the U.S. dollar against
Yeah.
the rupee right now is strong,
yeah.
and so that's an advantage for me. And as a business person, I'm always looking at
Opportunities.
Why would I have a house that costs this much in the U.S. and pay $10,000 a year in property taxes on one house, $10,000 US in property, when I could come here and buy a house the same size, and number one, it's maybe a third the price.
Yeah.
And it's the taxes aren't quite as high. It just makes an economic sense.
Makes
but
sense.
but I like the people. I've made so many friends here for life that it's hard for me to leave last time it was really hard. I left my heart here.
Yeah. How long were you here last time?
2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this time?
A week and a half.
A week and a half. And
Yeah,
the
and-
next time you're coming for Future Fest.
Yes.
and
I'll
the-
come in early and I'll leave late. I promise you.
And hopefully longer, yeah.
And maybe I'll be living in my house by then.
Yeah, but maybe
I don't
you'll have
know.
a house
It's
by
God
then.
willing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Fair enough. And I'm not going to take too much more of your time. Just one last question.
Okay.
You said that you've traveled different parts of the world,
Yes.
right? Do you see places for opportunity? Do you travel to them out of curiosity? Are you just adventurous that way? Or is it that do you make like an educated guess that, okay, this... So, for example, let's say a lot of people saw the economic rise of Indonesia
Yes.
or in Nigeria, which was based on multiple calculations that can sort of be replicated with Pakistan as well, which
Yes.
is population,
Yeah.
economic size, lack of resources,
Yes.
etc. So the burst comes, right?
Yes.
Was it the first time you came was a chance meeting, right? You met a few people you came to just see. Now that you're seriously thinking of Pakistan, is there an economic standpoint behind that, or is it just the heart wants what the heart wants.
Well, I don't travel into countries to be an opportunist, to take or to have. I don't really have an agenda. Usually I'm invited for keynote speaking or helping with technology with the government or something like that.
Right.
I mean, I just came back from the Amazon rainforest. Do you know that?
Wow.
Amazon jungle?
Yeah.
You should go on Facebook, check it out.
That's awesome.
I just have to say this. A chief, kind of a chief of the chiefs of the Amazon tribes, sent me a short video in February of this year asking, can you bring us Starlink internet, SpaceX internet?
Yeah.
Because we have no...
How do these people find you?
I was working with SpaceX on something, and I have a picture of me in front of SpaceX headquarters in L.A. On Facebook, and somebody in Brazil saw it and told him.
That's because I'm wondering, how are these people finding you? How do they...
Yeah.
And then it's incredible, okay?
Yeah, and
the power of the internet, huh?
Yes, it's amazing. And so he sent me this 1-minute video that was someone transcribed in English for me that said, and we're talking primitive. We're talking no shirt on, things in the nose.
Yeah.
People, they've never seen, most of them outside, and you don't penetrate their world either.
Are you scared going to such places? Or?
No.
No, okay.
I gave birth 11 times. That was a lot more dangerous.
Fair enough.
And to be honest, if I died tomorrow, I'd die doing what I love.
Yeah.
But I decided I'd raise the money for the 20 satellite dishes he was asking for. Mm-hmm. So, who my first donors were my kids. Mm-hmm. And they know that when I do something, I'm going to make it happen, and it's going to change lives. Mm-hmm. And then my friends and other friends, and we finally collected the money we needed to buy these. Mm-hmm. And then I had them shipped from SpaceX headquarters down to Brazil to the closest city. And then the chief said, come deliver them in person.
Wow.
So I flew down there.
Wow.
And it's a three hour boat ride, like canoe ride with a little motor, Honda motor, to the beginning of the Path of the Jungle. Mm-hmm. And then it's a 52-kilometer walk to the first village. Walk. There's no horses or donkeys or nothing. There's no electricity, nothing. And this was like, as you see, there's snakes and there's jaguars and there's big spiders and huge scorpions. And, the chief said, do exactly as I say, you will die. So I was like, okay. And, I went alone. And I had a translator that came in. That didn't come with me, but was there. And then we made that trek, and it was the most. I've run marathons. Okay, this was the most difficult physical thing I've ever done.
Sounds
impossibly and we didn't have food with us. We didn't have water with us. These people, this chief's tough. We just scooped out of the rivers. We go. We probably crossed 25 rivers, and there's only just a little post to walk across, like balance on.
Shit.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't make an error, and I didn't want to look like an idiot. But the farm girl side of me was, I was kind of prepared. And I was a runner. That helped a little bit, but it was hard. And these villages are just like the grass huts and everything, like you see. But here came these 20 Starlinks, and when I arrived at the first village, 20 chiefs were there waiting from their tribes, and been able to hand them this. These people are forgotten. They're invisible. Nobody cares about them. Nobody's been kind to them from the outside world, really. And it was an incredible experience. I didn't know what kind of people they would be. Guess what? They're just like us. Mm. They're very moral. They don't drink. They don't smoke. They work hard. They live off the land. No electricity. I mean, I had no running water for 2 weeks. I'm drinking out of the river. I'm bathing in the river. I'm washing my clothes in the river. And I'm eating whatever they shoot, whatever they hunt. That's it.
I have a question, and just the last one, and then I'll let you go. I know you have to go to Lahore after this.
I had to tell you that because you asked me if I.
So that's a fascinating story, and in that story, I just have one question that I can't understand. If they didn't have internet there, how did they reach out to you?
They had a PhD student from Brazil reached out to me on their behalf and made the film.
So he was with them. She was with them.
She was someone that they actually trusted.
Okay.
To do it.
So she sort of saw them, and she saw you.
She's the one that reported that might have a connection that could help them.
That could help them. And then they sort of reached out to you.
Made a 1-minute video.
Wow.
And
and now they use internet over there?
No, so we get to the village.
Are they Netflixing it up now?
So we're sawing down the tree to make the big stand for the satellite dish, right? I mean, it's full on making the ladder from scratch, and I'm hammering and and we mount that dish and we put it up, and then we log in to and the satellite dish starts spinning, looking for the little small satellites in space, and you watch this thing spin until it locks on, and then suddenly on your phone. It says Wi-Fi, Starlink, Capivanaway tribe. And you're like, wow, out here in the middle of the jungle with no electricity. It's running on solar power. These people are seeing, technology for the first time, and now they can talk to each other. The kids have no education. All the plans were for education, communication. They have no health care. It's telemedicine now, and things like this. So and they also are, they understand that they have to set protocols on the internet where they want to limit where people aren't on it all day long, right? And they don't want it to be destructive technology, but to improve their lives. Yeah. So the chief is doing a great job of keeping on the straight and narrow.
Do you keep in touch with the chief?
Oh
yeah. Fair enough. Are you guys on Facebook now? Is he on Facebook?
We're on WhatsApp. We have been from the beginning. We lived and survived together. We made it. Yeah. And it was fascinating. But if you can ever go on my Facebook and see the journey, it was phenomenal. I saw things people will never see and got invited into a world most people are never invited into. So these are the things that I get to do. Yes, a lot of people go to Amazon and never come out because something happens to them. But I'm here.
Yeah. No, you have lived quite the fascinating life. I'll tell you that. This is really fun.
It is fun.
Yeah, and so much to absorb, right? So much you've experienced, and hopefully next time you're around, we'll call you back for round 2. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So thank you for coming.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Next time I'm going to interview you. I want to hear about your life more.
Sure. More
thank
than
you so much.
To do that. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. If you do like our content, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you for the next podcast.